The police officer looked me straight in the eyes and asked one question. Did your sister push you? My father answered before I could. No. The officer frowned. I wasn't asking you. Dad squeezed my shoulder so hard I thought he'd leave another bruise. My mother stood behind him, silently shaking her head. My younger sister, Ashley, sat on the couch with fake tears running down her face. And my left hand was already turning purple. My ring finger bent at an angle fingers aren't supposed to bend. I could actually hear my heartbeat inside it. The officer looked back at me. Mom. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. Then Dad leaned closer and whispered so quietly only I could hear. If you tell them the truth. He paused just long enough. You'll lose everything. Those 5 words echoed louder than the sirens outside. I was 33 years old, a divorced mother, a physical therapist. And somehow, I was still terrified of disappointing my parents. Even after what Ashley had just done, even after Thanksgiving dinner had turned into the worst day of my life. People always imagine family violence starts with screaming. Sometimes it starts with mashed potatoes. That Thanksgiving morning actually felt normal. Too normal. My 8-year-old son, Liam, insisted on bringing homemade place cards. Mom complained they weren't centered. Dad complained about football. Ashley arrived 5 minutes late wearing designer boots she definitely couldn't afford. She kissed everyone dramatically. Even me. Which should have been my first warning. Ashley was only affectionate when she wanted something. Halfway through dinner she smiled across the table. So, I knew that tone. My lease is ending. Dad immediately looked at me. Here we go, Mom smiled. Emily has the guest room. I almost choked on my water. What? It'll only be 6 months, Ashley interrupted. Maybe 8. I laughed. I don't have room. Dad frowned. You have a 3-bedroom house. I have my bedroom, Liam's bedroom, and my office. Mom rolled her eyes. You work from a laptop. I also work from home. Ashley leaned back dramatically. I can't believe you'd make your own sister homeless. I stared at her. You make twice as much as I do. She shrugged. I spend more. I actually thought she was joking. She wasn't. I shook my head. No. Silence. Mom slowly put down her fork. Emily. No. Dad's face hardened. Family helps family. I've helped Ashley 17 times. Ashley snapped. You always keep score. No. I just remember. Mom sighed loudly. This is why nobody enjoys holidays anymore. Because apparently boundaries ruin Thanksgiving. I stood up. Liam, let's get dessert. As I turned toward the kitchen, Ashley muttered something. Not quietly enough. Selfish. I stopped walking. What? She smiled. I said you're selfish. I looked at Dad. He didn't say a word. Mom looked down at her plate. Neither of them corrected her. I nodded slowly. If protecting my son makes me selfish. Ashley stood. Oh, please. You think you're better than us. No. You think, because you own a house, I own it because I worked for it. That sentence lit the fuse. Ashley stormed around the table. Dad didn't stop her. Mom didn't stop her. She got inches from my face. You've always thought you were better, no? I've always expected you to grow up. She shoved me. Not hard. Just enough. I stepped backward. Stop. She shoved me again. Harder. Liam appeared in the kitchen doorway. Mom. I held up my good hand. Go back, buddy. Ashley laughed. Oh, now you're scared? Numdone? I turned toward my son. I never saw Ashley grab the heavy ceramic serving dish. Mr. Henderson's homemade casserole, still half full. She swung it toward me. Instinctively, I threw up my left hand to protect my face. The dish smashed directly into my fingers. A crack echoed through the dining room. Not the dish. My finger. Pain exploded through my hand. The serving dish shattered across the hardwood floor. I dropped to my knees screaming, blood mixed with gravy. My finger pointed sideways. Liam started crying. Mom looked at Ashley. Then she laughed nervously. Oh, Ashley. As clumsy as ever. Dad actually chuckled. Accidents happened. I stared at both of them. They had seen everything. Ashley hadn't slipped. She hadn't tripped. She had swung that dish at me, and they laughed. Then someone started pounding on the front door. Not knocking. Pounding. Our next-door neighbor, Mr. Collins, a retired firefighter. He burst inside. One look at my hand. One look at Liam crying. One look at the broken dish. Then he reached into his pocket, pulled out his phone, and quietly said, "I already called 911. Dad's smile disappeared. 5 minutes later, a police cruiser pulled into the driveway, and I had no idea my parents were about to ask me to destroy my own life to protect Ashley. The ambulance hadn't even left our driveway before Dad cornered me in the emergency room hallway. He looked over both shoulders first, making sure no nurses were close enough to hear. Then he lowered his voice. "You know what to say." I stared at him. "My finger is broken. It was an accident." "No." His jaw tightened. "It was." I watched Ashley swing that dish at me. Mom appeared beside him carrying my purse. She forced a smile that looked more like a warning. "Emily." "No." Dad stepped closer. "If Ashley gets charged," he paused, "she'll lose her teaching license." I blinked. "So," Mom gasped. "How can you say that?" I looked down at my swollen hand. "How could she do this?" Silence. Then Ashley walked into the hallway, still wearing the same sweater. Not a single tear left. She folded her arms. "You're really going to ruin my life." I laughed. Actually laughed. "You broke my finger." "You shouldn't have made me angry." The words echoed inside my head. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Just, you shouldn't have made me angry." And suddenly something clicked. Ashley genuinely believed this was my fault. Dad pointed at me. "Listen carefully. If the police think she attacked you," he lowered his voice again, "your mother and I won't have a choice." "What choice?" "We'll cut you out." I frowned. "What?" Mom answered this time. "No more family, no holidays, no help, no inheritance. No relationship." She smiled sadly. "You'll lose everything." I looked at her for a long time, then quietly asked, "What exactly am I losing?" Neither of them answered, because we all knew. I hadn't actually had a family in years. Only obligations. Diskel au due au do na kajon deo adenurses at interrupted bento. "The officer is ready." Dad squeezed my shoulder. "It was an accident." "Ow, banana now do, adago do, bow dow, banao, adanao bow dow, na dowjin." Officer Harper Sunny sat across from me with a small notebook. She smiled gently. "How's the pain?" "Pretty bad." "I'm sorry." She looked at my cast. "The emergency physician says the fracture is significant." I nodded. She didn't open her notebook immediately. Instead, she looked toward the hallway, where Dad and Mom were pretending not to watch through the glass. Then she quietly asked, "Are you comfortable talking in front of them?" I looked over my shoulder. Dad slowly shook his head. Tiny movement, almost invisible. A warning. Officer Harper noticed. "I'll take that as a no." She stood, walked to the door, closed the blinds, then locked it. When she sat back down, her tone changed. "Emily." I looked at her. "I've been doing this 18 years. She folded her hands. "I know what frightened people look like. Silence. I also know what guilty families look like." I swallowed. She slid a single photograph across the table. It showed my dining room. Broken casserole dish. Blood on the floor. Liam's little place card lying beside the table. Then another picture. The serving dish. Only one fingerprint pattern was visible. Ashley's. Officer Harper spoke softly. Mr. Collins gave a statement. My heart skipped. He saw her. He saw enough. Then she added, "And so did someone else." I frowned. "Who?" She pulled out a small evidence bag. Inside was Liam's tablet. I blinked. My son's tablet. Officer Harper nodded. "He was recording?" "What?" "He told us he wanted to make a Thanksgiving movie." I felt the air leave my lungs. Liam loved making little videos. Cooking videos. Birthday videos. I remembered giving him the tablet that morning. I'd forgotten all about it. Officer Harper continued. The recording captured almost everything. I couldn't speak. She looked directly into my eyes. "So I'll ask one more time. Did your sister intentionally strike you?" I closed my eyes. Thought about Dad, Mom, Ashley, then thought about Liam, the little boy who had watched his mother bleed while the people who were supposed to love us laughed. I opened my eyes. Officer Harper nodded once, no surprise, just one calm nod. "Thank you, doggo. No, go. 40 minutes later, Ashley was arrested. Mom screamed. Dad pounded on the nurse's station. "This is ridiculous." Officer Harper calmly replied, "No." She glanced toward my hospital room. Is asking your daughter to lie while she's wearing a cast. Oh no, 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 no. That night, Liam climbed carefully onto my hospital bed. He looked terrified. Mom, yeah. Are Grandpa and Grandma mad? I smiled weakly. They are. Did we do something bad? I hugged him with my good arm. No, we told the truth. He thought about that. Then whispered, truth feels scary. I kissed the top of his head. It does sometimes. But lies stay scary forever. He nodded, then reached into his little backpack. I made you something. It was a drawing. Me, him. 2 stick figures holding hands. No grandparents. No Aunt Ashley. Just us. Across the top he had written, in crooked 8-year-old handwriting, my safe family. I completely fell apart. But before I could say another word, Officer Harper returned. This time she wasn't alone. Walking beside her was a man carrying a cardboard archive box. He introduced himself quietly. My name is Daniel Brooks. I'm from the district attorney's office. He set the box on the table, then looked directly at me. I don't think this is the first time your parents have asked someone to lie for Ashley. I looked at the cardboard archive box sitting on the hospital table. It wasn't very big, maybe the size of a microwave, but the way Daniel Brooks rested his hand on it made it feel heavy. Heavy with years, heavy with secrets. I don't understand, I said. He opened the lid. Inside were file folders, police reports, insurance claims, old witness statements, photographs, everything carefully labeled. He pulled out the oldest file. 8 years ago, I frowned. Your sister was 23. He slid a photograph across the table. A grocery store parking lot, a damaged SUV, an elderly woman holding her wrist. What is this? Daniel looked at me. Your sister reversed into that woman. Ashley had always told us the woman slipped. Daniel continued. The victim originally reported that your sister accelerated after the first impact. I stared. What? But 3 family members signed statements saying the woman walked behind the vehicle unexpectedly. My stomach tightened. My parents. He nodded. They convinced witnesses to change their stories. Another file. 5 years ago, a department store. Broken security gate. Ashley accused an employee of grabbing her. The employee was suspended. Later, camera footage proved Ashley had fabricated the accusation. But by then, Daniel sighed. The employee had already resigned. I felt sick. Another file. 3 years ago, a boating accident. Ashley damaged another family's dock. Dad quietly paid for repairs, then insisted everyone tell the insurance company it happened during a storm. Daniel looked at me. Recognized the pattern. I nodded slowly. They keep protecting her, at any cost. He closed the folder, and every time, they learned the truth could be rewritten. Silence filled the room. Then he looked directly at me. This Thanksgiving was different. Why? Because there was video. He picked up Liam's tablet. Children rarely care about family politics. They just record what they see. I smiled through tears. My son accidentally told the truth. Daniel smiled softly. Sometimes during Save Adults. God, the investigation lasted several months. Ashley eventually accepted responsibility through the legal process after the evidence, including the video and witness statements, left little room to dispute what had happened. The case never became a television spectacle. It became something much harder, a family forced to stop pretending. Dad attended every hearing, not because he wanted to, because he finally realized protecting Ashley had nearly cost him both daughters and his grandson. Mom cried almost every day, not dramatic crying, quiet crying, the kind people do when they realize they've spent years defending the wrong thing. One afternoon Daniel called me. I have something you should see. At the prosecutor's office he handed me a sealed envelope. Inside were copies of handwritten letters, not from Ashley, from my father, letters he had never mailed. The oldest one was dated 11 years earlier. Emily, I know I should have corrected Ashley today. Instead, I corrected you because it was easier. I'm sorry. I folded the letter without finishing it. Another one. Emily, you were right. Your mother and I just couldn't admit it. Another. Emily, every time we ask you to forgive your sister, we're really asking you to carry the consequences we should have made her carry herself. By the fourth letter, I couldn't see the words anymore. My tears blurred everything. He wrote dozens. What happened to them? I never mailed them. Why? Daniel smiled sadly. Sometimes guilt writes letters that pride refuses to send. Nearly a year later, Liam asked if we could visit Mr. Collins, the retired firefighter who had called 911. We found him sitting on his porch watering flowers. Liam ran over. I brought cookies. Mr. Collins laughed. I only called the police. Liam shook his head. No, you helped my mom. Mr. Collins looked at me, then smiled. I just did what decent neighbors do. He looked toward Liam. You know, when grown-ups forget how to protect children. He placed a gentle hand on Liam's shoulder. Sometimes children remind grown-ups how. The following Thanksgiving looked nothing like the one before. No giant family dinner, no forced smiles, no pretending. Just me, Liam, a small turkey, mashed potatoes, and an extra plate we carried next door to Mr. Collins. Halfway through dinner, Liam looked around the table. It's quiet. It is. I like this Thanksgiving better. Why? He smiled. Nobody laughed when somebody got hurt. I reached across the table and squeezed his hand. That simple sentence told me everything. Children don't remember expensive meals. They remember whether they felt safe. Years later, when people ask about the scar on my hand or the finger that never bends quite the same way, I don't tell them about broken bones. I tell them about one little boy who accidentally recorded the truth. One retired firefighter who refused to look away. And one Thanksgiving that finally ended the family tradition of protecting the wrong person. Because the day I stopped lying for my sister was the first day my son learned that courage doesn't always look like fighting. Sometimes, it looks like telling the truth when everyone you love begs you not to. The first Thanksgiving after everything happened, I didn't cook a turkey. I didn't buy decorations. I didn't answer my parents' invitations. Instead, Liam and I ordered pizza. He insisted pepperoni counted as holiday food. I didn't argue. After the year we'd survived, peace tasted better than tradition. Around 4 that afternoon, there was a knock at the door. Not loud, just gentle. When I opened it, Dad was standing there alone. No Mom, no Ashley, no dramatic speech. Just an aging man holding a small cardboard box. I won't stay. I looked at the box. What is it? I found these while cleaning the attic. He handed it to me. Inside were dozens of things I'd forgotten existed. My 3rd grade spelling trophy. A faded Mother's Day card I'd made for Mom. The little blue mitten I'd lost when I was 6. Even Liam smiled. You were little too. Dad laughed through tears. I was. Then he corrected himself. No, I mean your mom. We both laughed awkwardly. For the first time in years, the silence between us didn't feel angry. It felt honest. Dad looked at my left hand. The finger never healed completely. It leaned slightly toward my middle finger now. I see it every night. He whispered, What? That finger? I close my eyes, and I hear it break. His voice cracked. I spent 30 years believing protecting Ashley made me a good father. He shook his head. It made me stop being your father. I didn't interrupt. Some apologies need room to breathe. Finally, he reached into his coat pocket. He pulled out one last envelope. Not money, not legal papers, just a folded sheet of notebook paper. What is it? I finally mailed one. It was the last letter, the only one he had the courage to give me. Emily, if I ask you to forgive me, I'll be asking for something I haven't earned. So I'm asking for something smaller. I hope one day your son remembers me as the man who admitted he was wrong, not only the man who was. Love, Dad. I folded the letter carefully. Not because everything was fixed, because truth deserved to be kept. Ashley completed her court, ordered counseling and continued treatment for anger management. She also entered therapy for the issues that had fueled years of explosive behavior. Recovery wasn't quick. Sometimes she'd take 2 steps forward, then 1 back. But she kept showing up. One afternoon she asked if she could meet me. Public park, middle of the day. I agreed. She sat on the opposite bench. Didn't move closer. I don't expect forgiveness. I nodded. Okay. I just wanted to tell you something. What? She looked toward the playground where Liam was laughing with friends. I spent my whole life thinking Mom and Dad's protection meant they loved me more. She smiled sadly. It actually meant they never believed I could become better. That sentence stayed with me. Because she was right. They hadn't raised her. They had rescued her for every consequence until consequences became strangers. Mom changed in quieter ways. She started volunteering every Thursday at a rehabilitation center, helping patients relearn everyday tasks after hand injuries. Buttoning shirts, holding forks, writing their names again. One afternoon, she called me. I met a little girl today. Yeah, she broke her finger. Silence. I cried in the supply closet. I didn't know what to say. She continued softly. It wasn't your finger that broke. It was your trust. Several years later, Liam graduated from elementary school. During the ceremony, he gave a short speech about courage. Near the end, he surprised everyone, especially me. My mom says courage isn't about never being scared. He smiled toward me. It's about telling the truth even when people you love don't want to hear it. The auditorium became quiet. Then he added one more sentence. I wiped it at Thanksgiving. I wiped away tears before anyone noticed. After the ceremony, Mr. Collins, our retired firefighter neighbor, walked over carrying his usual paper cup of coffee. He grinned. You know? What? I've responded to house fires, car crashes, and emergencies for 40 years. He looked at Liam. But sometimes the bravest person in the room, he smiled, is an 8-year-old who forgets to stop recording. Everyone laughed. Even Dad, even Mom. Ashley laughed too. Not because the memory was funny, because healing had finally become stronger than pretending. As we stood together in the warm afternoon sun, Liam reached for my left hand. The crooked finger fit awkwardly inside his small fingers. He looked at it for a second. Does it still hurt? Sometimes. He nodded thoughtfully. I guess families can heal like broken fingers. How's that? They never look exactly the same, he smiled. But they can still hold the people they love. I looked around. At my son. At the neighbors who had become family. At parents who had finally stopped defending the wrong things. At a sister who was learning to take responsibility instead of hiding from it. And I realized something. My parents once told me I'd lose everything if I told the truth. They were wrong. The truth didn't make me lose everything. It showed me what was actually worth keeping. And that turned out to be more than I ever thought I'd have.